This is going to be an introduction into the MAAWS weapon system. This is a 84mm recoilless rifle that has many different uses. Primarily, it's used to target light armored vehicles, light-skinned vehicles, troops in the open or in defilade. It can be used to destroy buildings. It can be used to illuminate the battlefield or obscure it. Many different roles, many different purposes. So that is why this weapon system has pretty much taken the role of the SMAAW. The SMAAW is pretty much phased out. I know in the Marine Corps it's pretty much phased out. And now it's the MAAW that is incorporated into every rifle squad. And I believe in the Army it's every platoon. But there's a big emphasis on this weapon system, and this is going to be a class on pretty much its basic characteristics, how to use it, what it's used for, and just to get generally familiar with it. Alright, learning objectives. Obviously, it's for you to understand the basic characteristics of this weapon. Know the difference between all the different rounds, because all the different rounds have different ranges, different muzzle velocities, different purposes, different missions. Understand the different missions that a MAAW team can be assigned. Basic firing procedures, how to load, different shooting techniques, whether you're at the standing, kneeling, the sitting, or even the prone. Troubleshooting the weapon system. So that goes into the firing procedures, knowing what to do if you have a misfire. You have your gunner and the A gunner, all that good stuff. Okay, so the name for this weapon system is the Carl Gustaf, because it was developed by the Swedes. It is an 84mm medium anti-armor weapon, hence why it's called the MAAW. It's also called the M3A1 Carl Gustaf. The weapon itself has a rifled barrel. Other weapon systems have finned rounds, which allow it to fly in space, or when it's fired from the muzzle. This right here is pretty much a recoilless rifle. The Venturi system is located at the rear of the weapon. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but that is a Venturi system. Pretty much it allows all the backblast and all the force and energy to escape through the rear of the weapon, which allows it to be recoilless. The fire control system is the optic. I'm not sure if it's portrayed here. No, it's not. Okay. Fire control system is this very advanced optic that the gunner uses to pretty much range the target and select the different rounds so that the weapon itself can hit the target accurately. The way I can describe it is it's like a little computer system within the weapon itself. Pretty much it's like a little, I wouldn't say joystick, but like up and down arrow, which allows you to select different rounds, range the target, and then you can line up the sights and fire accurately. Predominantly used by Western countries, so NATO countries. Characteristics. Like I said, it is a multi-purpose recoilless rifle. Now there's different missions that the MAAW can be used for, which makes it, like I said, a lot better than the SMAAW, simply because of its multi-use. Light armored vehicles. That would be, for example, we could destroy the Chinese ZBD-04 or ZBD-05, which is their armored personnel carriers. The Russians also use the BTR-90 which is their version of armored personnel carriers. Soft skin vehicles such as trucks, jeeps. Field fortifications such as machine gun bunkers, EW nodes, any sort of buildings. Say we're in a mountain environment and there's a building that we need to level. Well, you can load in a ASM round, which later we'll get into that, and destroy said building. Troops in the open or defilade. Now, the kind of round that you could use for troops in the open or defilade could be high explosive airburst or high explosive airburst and high explosive impact. Now, another role that you can use is to illuminate the battlefield. Any situation where you need to illuminate, you can use the MAAW. Now, predominantly, if you do need to illuminate the battlefield, it would be through the use of, say, 60mm mortars. But the MAAW can also fulfill this role, which allows it to operate within the squad level, not needing adjacent units or attachments. Smoke can also be fired from the MAAW. Now, it's not very common that the MAAW is going to be doing this role, but it is a capability, and it's good to at least have those capabilities when a need arises. Now, the MAAW by itself is 14.8 pounds. That's without sight or the bipod. With the FCS and the bipod, it is 19.2 pounds. So, just be aware of how much it weighs and carry your weight. There are 9 inches in length and it fires 84mm rounds. The rounds are loaded, breech loaded through the rear of the weapon. Like I said, the rear is the Venturi. The A-gunner, or the gunner, but most of the time it will be the A-gunner, can load rounds through the Venturi. Practical rate of fire is 6 rounds per minute. You really shouldn't have to be firing 6 rounds per minute. If you are, you're probably going to have brain damage. That is also another thing to note, is being near a MAAW shot for, say, 6 rounds a minute will cause brain damage. That's why when you're doing live fire ranges and you got PSOs watching over MAAW gunners, they gotta rotate out because brain damage will actually occur. And 1,000 rounds of service life. The MAAW itself can only fire that much before it's considered no longer serviceable. Components. Now, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different parts for the MAAW. You can write it down, you can take a screenshot, take a picture, do what you gotta do. These are all the different parts, and it's correlated with the numbers here. Pretty simple. It's a lot easier if you physically had the MAAW. I could walk you through it. But regardless, here's the components. Ammunition. Okay. Now there's a lot of different ammunitions. Predominantly, we're only going to be using maybe 5 of them. And when you're carrying ammunition in an operation, you're not going to be carrying all of these different ammunitions. It's just different variety of what you can use. Now, the different types of ammunition. You got anti-structure munition, or ASM, the muzzle velocity of 787 feet per second. That's just the speed at which the round leaves the muzzle. Effective range of 300 meters, arming distance 12 meters. So arming distance is pretty much when you fire the round, it won't be able to deploy and do its actual job until it's further than 12 meters out. So say for example you shoot your ASM round, say in a building, which never fucking do that, but if you do and you're not incinerated by the backblast, you'll come to find out that the round won't do its job because of the arming distance, minimum safe distance of 250 meters. So don't engage a target less than 250 meters away, and your effective range is 300. So the reason why I put the effective ranges in bold is because it's very important. It's very important to know the capabilities of your weapon system. It's similar to, say, your jab in boxing, or when it comes to football, like how far can you throw a football? Knowing your effective range is very crucial, because you know if you have to reposition, or if you can actually engage your target, or if you're not endangering friendly units. So those of you who are MAAW gunners or are going to be one know these ranges. Complete round is 900 or 9.25 pounds. High explosive anti-tank. Now, it's muzzle velocity of 804 feet per second, effective range of 700 meters. What that means is you can engage enemy armor within 700 meters, armor penetration of 16 inches. So it's also important not only to know your weapon systems, but also to know the enemies, or enemies-like vehicles. Say a ZBD-04 is a Chinese armored personnel carrier. The high explosive anti-tank has an armor penetration of 16 inches or less. We know that this round can pierce through an enemy ZBD. Armor distance 22 meters, safe distance, complete round, so on and so on. Smoke 1300 meters, elimination 2100 meters. HEDP is a very important round because, as you can see, there's 3 different ranges on here. So effective range for a moving target is 300 meters. Moving target could be troops in the open, it could be an armored personnel carrier, it could be a truck, a jeep, so on and so on. 500 meters for field fortifications. It could be your machine gun bunker, that could be your enemy command post, any sort of fortification using HEDP. Then 1,000 meters for troops in the open. Max armor penetration 6 inches. So the HEDP is a very versatile munition, but it's very important that you understand the capabilities and the limitations of it. High explosive, you have 1,250 meters for airburst and 1,300 meters for impact. And then you got training rounds. Now, most of the time, I've only fired training rounds. So your TP, 700 meters, and an SCA round, which is a sub-caliber. I didn't even put it on here. No one uses SCA unless you're at training, because you're just firing a 7.62 round. Which, why would you fire that from a MAAW when you could be just shooting a rifle at that point? Now, when it comes to any sort of rocket projectile or missiles, we always have to consider the backblast area, which it kind of limits where we can fire said weapon systems. Like, say for example, you can't just fire a rocket inside a building, so you have to consider the backblast. What if you're hurting your own guys, or what if you're threatening the structural stability of a building by firing said weapon? So that is something you have to consider. When it comes to the MAAWS itself, this diagram perfectly illustrates what the backblast area looks like. The zone, you have zone A within 40 meters, zone B, and then 100 meters is the safe zone. You have a 45-degree cone from the venturi. Pretty much nothing should be within that cone. When the MAAWS is about to be fired, everyone will get online, just away from the backblast. The A gunner will yell something along the lines of checking left, checking right, checking rear, backblast area all clear. And he's going to make sure he's actually visually checking that the backblast area is clear. There have been some close calls where someone almost ran up to the backblast until the A gunner told him, hey, stop, there's someone in the backblast. It has happened. Luckily, I haven't seen anyone get affected by it so far. Okay. Now, before you can even fire the MAAW, when you get your MAAW from the armory, or hell, even right before you fire it, you're going to check your 5S's and a T. You check the sight, make sure there's nothing wrong with whether you're using the FCS or the BRS. We already went over the FCS, but the BRS is your standard sight. If your FCS is not attached, your sling, make sure the sling is all good. Your safeties, make sure when you are about to fire, or when you are going to fire, the weapon is cocked, and the safety is where it's supposed to be when you're about to fire. The seal, you're going to have seals at the end of your muzzle and then at the end of the venturi. Just make sure before you fire that the seals are actually off. Check your shoulder pad and check the tube. Make sure there's no damages or severe damages on the tube that would prevent you from effectively engaging or putting you and your A gunner at risk. For your functions check, it's pretty much the steps. I'm sure I don't really need to go over it. It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot easier if I could physically show you the functions check, but here it is step by step. By the way, everything I have is from the weapons and optics book that I received at SOI, or School of Infantry. This is just to provide knowledge to those who don't necessarily have that book. Pretty much, help you out with learning. Okay, misfire and troubleshooting. So this is your misfire procedures. Pretty simple. You have it up here. You pretty much say you pull the trigger, nothing happens. You're gonna yell out misfire, misfire, misfire. Keep your weapon pointed down range. Wait 5 seconds for a hang fire. A hang fire is pretty much possibly the round could fire itself during that time period. So you're gonna wait for that hang fire. You're gonna recock and then re-engage. So if it doesn't happen again, you're gonna keep the weapon pointed down range, wait 2 minutes. Once the 2 minutes is up, a gunner will remove the round and inspect. A gunner is going to inspect the round. Now you're going to check for any dents on the round, because it will determine one of two things. If the round is dented, then the fault is the round itself. Treat it like a dud or a UXO, unexploded ordnance, and you will notify the RSO notify the RSO. He will then notify OD, or not OD, EOD, and then the round will be placed into the dud pit. If the round has not been struck, meaning not dented, then the fault is with the weapon system itself, and then you pass off the round to an adjacent gunner so that it can actually be used effectively. Now, firing procedure. Say for example, you're doing your patrol, whether you're going from the assault pause, or you're doing a rocket battle drill. The procedure is roughly the same. Let's say for example you're doing a rocket battle drill. You'll be going up, and hopefully your target's already been identified. Makes it a lot easier if you already know the range of the target, what your target is, what round to use. You'll call your ADREC. So alert, direction, description, range, assignment, and control. So it could be contact front, enemy CBD in the open, 400 meters. And it's pretty obvious, hey, the MAAWS gunner will destroy that ZBD. Now if it's a rocket battle drill, then the round should already be loaded in the cold pause. If it's not, get to the cold pause and load your round. So in this example, the heat round would be the best to use. Your A gunner will load the heat round, but first you're going to announce, hey, I need a heat round loaded. A gunner, load it in. Then you'll go from your cold pause to your hot pause. Now you should already have it ranged. If not, then you're going to range it out once you get to the hot pause. Preferably you shouldn't. Okay. Now, while that's happening, the entire squad is going to pick up their rate of fire, because obviously a MAAWS gunner is going to be a very big target for dismounted infantry and even a ZBD itself. Okay, once the gunner is in position, it's going to say target acquired. The A gunner will check the back blast. Checking left, checking right, checking rear, back blast area clear. And then, once the gunner is going to fire, he's going to yell, firing, firing, firing. Then you will fire the round. Once that's done, it could be target destroyed, it could be target neutralized, it could be missed. If it's a miss, then you're just going to have to repeat until you destroy the target or follow-on actions. But this is pretty much an intro to the MAAWS. In the next class, I'm going to be going over more in-depth tactics, how it's actually employed, rocket battle drills, its composition in the rifle squad. This is just an introduction into the MAAWS weapon system.